Sam. I am one of Odysseys tour directors here in Egypt. I would like to welcome you to the National Museum, which is located in Tahrir Square in Cairo, the capital, the biggest city in both Africa and the Middle East, with a population of 22 million people. This iconic place was built in 1902 and it has more than 35,000 artifacts, which tell us the history of ancient Egypt from 3200 BC until the Roman time. I always tell my guests that if you would like to spend only 2 minutes looking at every single artifact, you need 2 months to spend in this beautiful place. Since we haven't got this much time today, unfortunately, we will introduce you to the most beautiful artifacts and masterpieces. So, thank you. The ground floor of Cairo Museum is the statue of the Seated Scribe. This statue, which is more than 4,300 years old, was discovered in Saqqara, in the tomb of this magnificent person. The scribes were very important in ancient Egypt because not all the Egyptians knew how to read and write. So these people were very intellectual and they were well cared for and they were well looked after by the Pharaoh. They were granted the right to have their own statues inside their tombs. My surprise to you in this statue is to look at the eyes. They knew how to make glass eyes at that time, almost 5,000 years ago. So I'm going to use the light of my mobile to show you the eyes, which look very real and very lifelike. The white of the eye is made out of a stone called alabaster stone. Look at the smile on his face and the confidence he has as well. He is so happy about his status. He's crossing his legs under his torso, holding a cane pen in his right hand with a papyrus roll in his left hand. He's ready to write the text on hieroglyphic. Fantastic piece that we discovered in 1902 in Saqqara, made out of painted limestone. And by the way, this is the statue that we chose to put on our biggest Egyptian note, which is a 200 Egyptian pound note. You can see. Another great statue which was immensely famous since its discovery is the statue of Khafre, the younger brother of Khufu, the owner of the great Sphinx in Giza. He owns the Sphinx and the second pyramid. As you know that there in Giza we have got 3 pyramids. The middle one belongs to this pharaoh, who ruled for about 29 years. And this was 4,500 years ago. The statue is made out of one piece of diorite, which is a very hard stone. So the big question mark is, what stone could polish the diorite? That's a big question mark. We don't know yet what stone was used to polish this statue. The statue is protected by a beautiful bird, which is the falcon. At the back of his head, we can see the falcon god Horus, which is hidden from the front. You have to come to the side to see god Horus, the falcon-headed god. He is protecting the pharaoh with his 2 wings. He is telling him that you are under my protection. You will survive forever. You will be granted eternal life. The ancient Egyptians believed in life after death and eternity. The statue was discovered in his mummification temple nearby his pyramid at Giza. Masterpiece in the ground floor of the museum is a statue of a husband and wife. The husband is called Rahatib. He was a younger brother of Khufu, the owner of the Great Pyramid of Giza. He was working as a chief commander of the Egyptian army. And the name of his wife was Nafret. It's made out of painted limestone. He is painted in red, she is painted in white. He is represented bare-chested, and she is represented wearing a beautiful tight dress. He is represented with his real hair, but she is represented wearing a heavy wig, softened by this beautiful diadem around it. Again, they were so fond of making crystal eyes, so the eyes were made out of glass. One of the statues that I personally like is a statue of the dwarf Sameh and his family. which is composed of the man himself, his wife, and two of his kids. He was working as a priest in the time of Khufu, the owner of the Great Pyramid of Giza. What I really like about this statue, that the physical deformity of the dwarf Seneb was disguised as much as possible through a very skillful optical trick. His short legs are disguised and hidden under his skirt, and they continue into the two figures of his children. This optical illusion was completed by the symmetrical representation of the legs of his wife, wearing a beautiful long dress almost reaching her ankle. And look at the smile on her face. Look how she is holding her husband's arm. That shows us the love and devotion between the couple. Magnificent piece made out of painted limestone. We found it inside that niche behind her. So Egyptians were so clever. The physical deformity did not deprive the man from having a good job. Ancient Egypt must have been the best place to be born as a woman, because Egyptian women at that time enjoyed a legal, a financial, and a sexual independence. They could live on their own, they could inherit land, they could marry whoever they wanted, they could go out of their homes without a male protection. And the lucky ones who were born in the royal family were promoted until they became queens. And we have got a very good example about this. Here, Queen Hatshepsut, one of the queens of the 18th dynasty, one of the most famous pharaohs who ruled Egypt for 21 years. We found this head inside her magnificent mortuary mummification temple in Luxor, next to the Valley of the Kings. She was represented with a beard in order to look like the male pharaohs, a false beard. They did not grow beards. They used to wear a false beard made out of gold and silver as a sign of royalty. One of the masterpieces inside the tomb of King Tut is his golden throne, which was made out of sycamore wood and covered with a thick layer of 18-karat gold. The magnificence of the decoration of this piece has prompted the archaeologists to declare this the most beautiful piece found in Egypt at that time. The most interesting scene is found at the backrest, where you can see the young pharaoh sitting on the throne, is approached by his wife. She is wearing a beautiful garment made out of silver, and she's spreading an ointment on his right shoulder from a jar that she's holding in her left hand. You see in the front two lion heads. The feet of the throne are in the shape of lion feet. In ancient Egypt, they had a tradition of having a footstool for the pharaoh. The footstool is also made out of gilded wood. Two winged serpents form the arm rests. Gold was available in ancient Egypt in a place called Nubia, south of Aswan. This is actually the most ironic statue in the museum, because it belongs to one of the greatest pharaohs of all times, Khufu, the owner of the greatest monument of Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza. But in the same time, it is considered to be the smallest one in the museum. It's only 7 centimeters in height, made out of ivory. When we discovered this statue, we found just the body. 2 weeks later, we found the head and we glued them together. But history does not remember Khufu with kindness. He was always described as a tyrant, and he had to be, otherwise he would not have been able to recruit 100,000 men for 20 years to build his Great Pyramid. The second floor of Cairo Museum is magnificent because it has all the artifacts of King Tut's tomb. King Tut was one of the kings of the 18th dynasty. We found his tomb intact in 1922. We found more than 3,500 artifacts inside his tomb. He was a boy of 9 years old when he ascended to the throne, and he died at the age of 18. Discoveries that happened in Egypt in 1922 was the discovery of the grave of King Tut, the tomb of King Tut. King Tut was a boy pharaoh. He was 9 years old when he ascended to the throne of Egypt. He died at the age of 18. Still, the way of his death is a big mystery. Was he murdered or not? It's a big question. But we have discovered more than 3,500 artifacts inside his tiny tomb that was discovered by the British archaeologist Howard Carter. Everything the Pharaoh wished to enjoy in his afterlife accompanied him inside his tomb, because they never called it a tomb, they called it the house of eternity. So look at this beautiful piece. It's an ostrich feather fan. It was discovered by Howard Carter inside King Tut's tomb. The handle is made out of ivory. These are the canopic jars of King Tut's tomb. Canopic jars means that jars contain the internal organs of the deceased. During the mummification, they used to remove the organs like the liver, the intestine, the stomach, and the lungs. And they used to put them separately inside these 4 jars, which have got 4 lids. They take the shape of the head of the king himself, made out of alabaster stone, 3,450 years old. 52 boxes were discovered inside King Tut's tomb in order to contain his magnificent jewelry pieces. One of them has got beautiful colors. You can see a scene showing the king is standing in his royal chariot, which is dragged by 2 horses charging at a full gallop, and he's chasing his enemies. All these colors are original. Another sacred animal for the ancient Egyptians was a jackal. And they used to see many jackals prowling around their tombs. So they believed that the jackal will eat the flesh of the mummies. So in order to stop the evil of the jackals, they worship them under the name Anubis, as a god of mummification. We found this beautiful shrine inside King Tut's tomb, and it was full of beautiful golden amulets. The threatening appearance of the jackal would scare the intruders who might come. So my dear ladies and gentlemen, this was a quick introduction about the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. I hope you enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to welcome all of you to show you around this place. Thank you.